Know what's strange? People who grew up in the 1990s often feel both deeply nostalgic and strangely disconnected from the present, as if they belong to two different worlds at once. They remember life before everything went digital, yet they're expected to function perfectly inside it. We all think we understand this generation. We call them adaptable, lucky, or even the last normal childhood, but that's only part of the story. Because growing up in the 1990s wasn't just about cartoons, dial-up internet, and outdoor play. It was a psychological transition period, one that quietly shaped how this group thinks, connects, and even struggles today. Picture this: a child playing outside until sunset, no smartphone, no GPS tracking, no constant notifications. Social life happens face-to-face. Boredom exists. Silence exists. Now imagine that same child, just a few years later, sitting in front of a computer, hearing the sound of the internet connecting, discovering a whole new digital universe, two completely different realities experienced during the same formative years. And this is where things get interesting. Psychologically, childhood is when the brain builds its core understanding of the world. Consistency matters. But for 90s kids, consistency didn't exist. Their early years were rooted in slow, analog life. Their teenage years introduced rapid technological acceleration. This created what psychologists might describe as a dual framework mind, one part grounded in real-world interaction, the other adapting to virtual environments. Think about it. They learned patience from waiting for TV shows, waiting for internet pages to load, waiting to meet friends. At the same time, they were among the first to experience instant gratification as technology evolved. This contrast wired their brains in a unique way, balancing delayed reward systems with emerging instant reward habits. But here's what most people don't realize. This shift didn't just affect habits, it shaped identity. Research in developmental psychology suggests that identity formation depends heavily on social feedback. For 90s kids, that feedback changed midway. It began with physical communities, family, school, neighborhood, and it expanded into early online spaces, chat rooms, forums, and social media's early versions. This created a subtle psychological tension. On one hand, they value deep, real-world connections. On the other, they are comfortable with digital interaction, yet neither fully satisfies them. And this is why many people from this generation often feel like something is missing, even when everything seems fine. Now consider the historical context. The 1990s were relatively stable in many parts of the world. Economies were growing, optimism was high, and globalization was accelerating. Then came the 2000s, marked by major global events, economic uncertainty, and rapid technological disruption. This generation didn't just grow up, they adapted through instability. And this is where things get strange. Studies on generational psychology show that people who experience major societal shifts during adolescence tend to develop heightened adaptability, but also underlying anxiety. Because when the world changes too quickly, the brain learns one thing above all else: nothing is permanent. So while 90s kids often appear flexible, tech-savvy, and resilient, there's an invisible layer beneath that. A quiet need for stability, a longing for simpler times, not because the past was perfect, but because it felt predictable. Think about how this shows up today. They may embrace new technology, but also feel overwhelmed by it. They may value independence, yet crave meaningful connection. They may chase progress while constantly looking back. Here's the deeper insight. Growing up in the 1990s didn't just create a generation, it created a psychological bridge, a group of people who understand both the pre-digital and digital world, but fully belong to neither. And that in-between state shapes how they think, work, and relate to others every single day. So the next time you think about people raised in the 1990s, don't just see nostalgia or adaptability. See the hidden complexity, the silent balancing act between two eras. Because their story isn't just about when they grew up, it's about how they learned to exist between worlds. And maybe that's not a weakness at all. Maybe it's a rare kind of awareness. If this made you see things a little differently, consider subscribing. There's always more beneath the surface than we think.